Hi GenderqueerChat, it's me Dallas, and I'm filling in for Keanan this week. It's Sunday, and today our topic, as genderqueer people, do you find yourself dating or being involved with what might otherwise seem as a disproportionate number of bisexuals? If not, how does being genderqueer influence your pool of available partners and choices among them? Before I get into it, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge that often when you're discussing um, identities that are not your own, or even if they are, um, you run the risk of saying something that might trigger someone. And just before I start talking about this, I want to say that it is not my intent to upset anyone or trigger anyone, and it's just my thoughts and my point of view. And if someone does want to say anything to what I've said, I welcome that in the comments. Just please try to be respectful and recognize that I'm not meaning to upset anyone from what I'm saying, which I'm sure goes for everyone on the channel. So with that, well, I've only ever dated one person. We were together for over 2 years, and that person did not identify as bisexual. I can definitely see where someone would get that idea that, oh, if you're genderqueer, that means that you're something other than male or female, or in between male and female, and therefore someone that's bisexual may be interested in that person or find it easier to be in a relationship with that person than someone who is straight or gay identified. But for me, I think it's more important that the person be pansexual, because being bisexual means that you're still playing into the binary. And I realize that a lot of people that label themselves as being bisexual probably are able to see beyond the binary and would be in a relationship with someone who's gender variant, but I don't know, I just really don't like that but the term bisexual feeds into someone who's attracted to male or female, when I personally feel like I am neither, and or both. I don't know, it's also my partner that I had was also genderqueer identified, or more like agender identified, but that experience of dating another gender variant person really opened me up to the challenges that come with being in a relationship with someone who's gender variant in a way that I may not have thought about before. The main thing that really bothers me in terms of dating in our society is just the lack of language accessible, because I am in no way somebody's girlfriend, but it also is not really reflective to say or to call me someone's boyfriend. And the same thing as my experience of dating my ex-partner. I do think, though, that it would be easier to date someone who was bisexual than to try to date someone who is straight or gay identified, because for me, I'm most of the time attracted to males, generally effeminate males, and generally those males are gay. And so I think in comparison to maybe some of the other people that are pursuing those people, I'm at a disadvantage because your average gay male is not going to be interested in someone who was not assigned male at birth. And that's a generalization, I know, but overall, I would assume that would be the trend. So it'd probably be easier to date a bisexual guy. But again, I feel like I'm just so queer that whoever I'm going to be with needs to be pretty darn queer. Even if they are attracted or even if they're labeled as straight by your average person who would hear about them, or gay or whatever, I feel like they just need to be really open-minded and queer when you get right down to it. And so if a person wants to identify or does identify as bisexual because it's what they can use to explain themselves and have people understand it, then, and they're still interested in me, then I would date them if I was interested in them as well. I don't know, what is disproportionate really? How do you define what's disproportionate? Something that Joe was talking about earlier in the week was how female sexuality seems to be more fluid than male sexuality. And really, I just think that the majority of people in general are some kind of bisexual. If you've got the Kinsey scale, I think the polar extremes aren't going to be the most full. It's definitely a bell curve, like most other things that we find in life. You've got these extremes, but in the middle is where you find the most amount of people. And I think that it's just the way our society is, that people feel the need to pick one side or the other, and they can't really express that, yes, they are somewhere in the middle. And there's different varying degrees of how in the middle someone is. And so I just don't think you can really label people the way that we do and have it make sense all the time. I mean, I definitely think that I have in the past, not that I've dated any of these people, but people have kind of said that I'm their one exception of the rule. That if they were going to have a crush on someone outside of their range of regular interests, it would be me, and they were okay with that. And does that make them bisexual? I don't know. But I think it's a really difficult topic, and it is interesting. Onto the other part of the question that I have been talking about a bit. How does being genderqueer influence your pool of available partners? I think it does make it a lot harder for me to find people who would be interested in being with me and I'd be interested in, just because there's so much more explaining that has to go on in terms of finding respect and understanding about who I am and who they are and what it all means. Yeah, for me, I think that it's not necessarily the person being bisexual or even pansexual. It's more about them also having some sort of genderqueerness or just a really solid understanding of what that all means, because it's more important for them to understand my gender and how I feel and how I want to be treated than who they're attracted to. Because if we're going to be together, they're attracted to me, and that's what matters. Okay, so I guess that's it for now. I hope everyone has had a delightful weekend, and hopefully you'll be hearing from me again soon. Thanks, guys. P.S. Sorry this video was really rambly.